Hello, sir. Can I have an Aptonoth steak, please? No.
Ah, but why not?
Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay.
Cotton, you aren't acting like yourself anymore.
That's because I'm a variant now.
A variant?
I'm short fuse Cotton and I'm angry.
Well, that's pretty lazy, don't you?
Shut up.
Put down in.
Shut up.
What if we grabbed a chunk?
Shut up.
Wow, okay, that's pretty effective.
Oh, hello there. It's me. Now, Cotton, you need to not listen to this, by the way. So, Cotton has no idea about the majority of the monsters in Iceborne, especially not the variants, or the focus on them. So I asked him to tell me, and by extension you guys, his favorites of the ones that he does know about. And I'm very interested to see what his uninfluenced opinion will be. So without further ado... Alright, Con, yep, come back, yep, off you go.
With all of the new monsters, all of the returning monsters, and all of the subspecies already announced for Iceborne, it seems only reasonable to assume that we will get a good few new variants, if not old ones, returning as well. So who are the variants of the Monster Hunter series, and which ones are the best? Well, as far as top 5 lists go, this one is a touch easier than most, as there are actually exactly 5 variants, if you don't count Frontier, which we don't.
Oh, yeah, no, you know what? No, yeah.
So without further ado, here are my top 5 variants in Monster Hunter, which essentially is just a ranking list of all of them.
Number 5, Rusted Kassala Deora.
I'm here for your help, Sam. Because your leaders believe we brought vengeance upon your planet. Perhaps they are right. That is why they must be reminded by another human of the trust we share.
Do it! Cushy boy, here we go again, sticking you in the butt end of a list for one reason or another. But anyone who knows the Rusted Kassala Deora would probably agree. As Kassala's skin is made of metal, he needs to molt every once in a while and shed his skin in order to keep growing. And Rusted Kassala is simply a Kassala Deora just before he goes off to enter his birthday suit. Or I guess his anniversary suit? He takes off his skin and there's just skin underneath, okay? In the theory of lore, this causes Rusted Kassala to lose all of his storm powers. However, in-game, he still causes a light tornado occasionally. Though one quite noticeable change is that he is way tougher, in like the literal sense. For some reason, apparently rusty metal is harder than perfectly pristine metal, and even purple sharpness bounces off of many parts of this big bad boy.
My lord, is that legal?
In theory, Rusted Kassala is also heavier, so less likely to fly, though he still flies a fair bit in the fight, and he is actually significantly more aggressive, which is honestly about what I would expect from someone covered in their own dying skin. If you didn't get the hint from me mentioning it with a couple of those changes, though, the fight itself is barely any different. Fighting Rusted Kassala is the equivalent of just fighting a regular Kassala Deora who's in a bad mood. Of course, Rusty Boy here was the first variant, so there is a little bit of leeway for that, but he didn't even get his own armor in the first game he was in. The game which, by the way, he was a flagship in.
Oh, great Odin's Raven!
I would also like to point out that the footage on screen is in an ice zone, and it just honestly makes me excited to fight Kassala Deora in an ice zone, because ice-affected wind abilities look fantastic, but that's just it. Watching Rusted Kassala fight shouldn't make me want regular Kassala in Hoarfrost. It should make me want Rusted Kassala in the game, but it doesn't. And honestly, even if a Rusted Kassala made it to the new world and was given the Lunastra treatment and totally made his own monster, I don't think it would be something I would care much to fight. Because even at best, if you make him do less wind stuff and more physical and make him more aggressive, he's essentially just a Metal Barioth. Metal Barioth, on the other hand, is a variant that I'd probably be quite happy to fight.
Number 4, Chaotic Gore Magala.
What's my flaw?
Your temper. It gets the best of you, makes you weak, makes you vulnerable.
This is where this list actually gets really hard, because as far as I'm concerned, every single variant from 4 to 1 is a fantastic idea with at very least acceptable implementation. Every one of these monsters is one that I would be ecstatic to see somehow show their face in the world's engine with the release of Iceborne. Every single one. Chaotic Gore Magala, then, is the weakest of those in my opinion. Chaotic Gore exists because it was traumatized or otherwise interrupted during the process of molting from a Gore Magala into a Shagaru Magala. Yeah, Yeah, that's the exact wording. What, did this Gore Magala see his wife cheating on him mid-molt? Maybe he fell off of a roof mid-molt. Stop it, this joke isn't funny. It's funny to me. Due to this interruption, the Gore Magala has essentially wound up stuck permanently in this in-between state, where his right side is all Shaggaroo and his left side is just regular Gore, almost split perfectly down the middle, to the point where the Shaggaroo horn is there, but the Gore feeler on his left side still only pops up in darkness mode. As for the actual fight of chaotic Gore Magala, he has all of the moves of regular Gore, but with a sprinkle of Shaggaroo shoved in as well, with the only unique factor being that he is a bit more reckless than either of these monsters, as he just don't care no more.
You're goddamn right.
That being said, actually leads me directly to my only issue with chaotic Gore Magala. He's essentially just a weak Shaggaroo or a strong Gore, and even if you don't agree with that opinion, the fact is that he is not more powerful or objectively more difficult than Shaggaroo, so it isn't even like he can claim the spot of just being the most powerful version, because he isn't. So chaotic is just this quirky monster in between the two of them, and while I do love his lore, and I think that he is a super neat idea, it leaves him at a disadvantage on this list. Every monster here is stronger than their base, at least in theory, and while chaotic Gore Magala is technically based off of Gore, it is impossible to ignore the fact that the rest of him is just lifted straight off of Shaggaroo. So while the idea of chaotic Gore Magala is neat, he sort of falls under the pressure when compared to the other variants.
Number 3, Savage Deviljho.
Now, eat it.
I don't want any, thank you.
Eat it!
Well, 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 here we are. Deviljho, my old nemesis, my old friend, my old picker-upper of good boys. Savage Deviljho is essentially what happens when a Deviljho doesn't eat for a while. Like me, he gets hangry and starts to go literally insane looking for his next meal, to the point where he will eat anything once he finds it. Anything, including other Deviljho.
Why?
Well, someone probably told him that he tastes good.
Flashback.
I bet you taste good! Oh right, it was me. For whatever reason, this hunger and insanity both stay with the Savage Deviljho long after did I call him Savage Deviljho? Becoming a permanent biological change. On top of this, when eating another Deviljho by some strange biological coincidence, it just piles dragon energy on top of Deviljho's pre-existing dragon energy, which in turn fuels his hunger and insanity, which drives him to eat more Deviljho, which in turn increases the dragon energy. As you can see where this is going. This significantly more than the fight itself is actually why I love Savage Deviljho. His reason for being is such a relatable and understandable thing until you reach the cannibalism, and the fact that it is a vicious cycle that only serves to keep itself going, and in theory, the Deviljho could just become stronger and more dragony over time. And as for the fight itself, Savage Deviljho is pretty awesome, to be honest with you. Savage Joe's base is pretty much the same as the enraged state of a regular Deviljho, meaning his existence is just superheated blood and anger and warmth, and as such he is significantly faster and more damaging overall. But of course, because he is extra hungry and crazy, the Savage Joe has his own enraged state on top of this, where his face is covered in red and black and dragon smoke, and it just looks intimidating as hell, and actually has an effect, as the dragon element surrounding his head disables any element from hitting it, meaning if you hit him in the head with an iced weapon while he is enraged, he will take exactly 0 ice damage.
Shame.
On top of this, as you might expect, the range of his dragon breath is way larger, making it way more threatening, and honestly, that just about sums up the changes to the fight for this variant. He's just a significantly more threatening Deviljho, and there is something just sort of beautiful about that to me.
Number 2, Furiousracheting.
Now, Furiousracheting is one of the more difficult ones to talk about, simply because he doesn't have an official reason for existing, which in a lot of ways actually lends itself towards one of the theories, but nothing is confirmed here. The first theory here is that Furiousracheting has a particularly large and powerful heart.
I'm sickened, but curious.
Which somehow makes his hair change color, but it is at least a somewhat reasonable explanation for all the extra electricity powers. The not boring theory, however, is that this Rajang is simply an homage to Dragon Ball. Being that original Rajang is essentially a monkey that goes Super Saiyan, Furiousracheting resembles an even stronger Super Saiyan, and this theory is honestly sort of badass and unique, and the only reason it isn't really accepted as a fact is that Furiousracheting still has his tail. As far as Dragon Ball lore goes, the correct way to implement this monster, if he was supposed to be a nod towards Dragon Ball, would have been to remove his tail, and therefore his relentless control of his power. My personal theory is that this Rajang just ate a few too many Kirin in one sitting. No matter what reason you attach to the changes of this monster though, the changes to the fight itself are very, very noticeable. While the actual quantifiable changes like new moves and such aren't really there at all, the Furious Rajang is not only able to enter his red-armed armor mode whenever he feels like it, but every single thing he does is faster and more damaging, and in theory, he likes to throw rocks a little bit more. This stuff may not sound that big, but on Rajang, of all monsters, they are extremely impactful. One of the fastest, most agile, and strongest monsters in the game, just getting a bump in all of those categories, it makes him truly one of the most difficult monsters in the entire series, and that was all it took. Imagine how strong a Rajang affected by the right living situations could be. I want to see a prime Rajang, the strongest a Rajang could ever become. I want to be murdered mercilessly by his chunky monkey arms. Wait, who wrote that on the cue cards? Oh, yeah, it was me.
That happened, and we all let it happen.
And then on top of all of this, when he does actually go enraged, he just looks so goddamn cool. Like, how could you ever argue against a monster that looks like this? I mean, on visuals alone, this monster is an easy 9 out of 10.
Number 1. Raging Braca Dios.
Raging Braca Dios, not to be confused with Rajang Braca Dios, is a Braca Dios that relocates its habitat to the heart of a volcano at a young age, such as the Ingle Isle, and coats himself in the super ancient slime that resides there, as opposed to the boring new age slime that Braca Dios have been covered in for years. This super ancient slime is extremely reactive and particularly explosive. It is here that we should note that the Raging Braca Dios is not rare because of a rare circumstance, so much as it is rare due to the strength of the individual required to survive this ancient slime. See, this slime is so powerful that it can actually punch through the hide of an average adult Braca Dios, which goes without saying is an incredible thing to do. Many Braca Dios do make this journey, but only a few of them survive. The few that do end up having a positive relationship with the ancient slime actually develop an organ known as the Immortal Reactor. Slime is a hell of a drug. This organ uses the waste produced by the ancient slime to repair the Braca Dios, even repairing the degradation normally caused by old age, making the Raging Braca Dios functionally immortal.
Yikes. Well, good luck with all that.
Visually speaking, the Raging Braca Dios' slime sits in an orangey yellow state on his shell instead of the classic neon snot green, which then turns redder than a fire truck when he enrages. As for the fight itself, this Bracky hits way harder, and his slime puddles on the floor explode significantly faster, but the Braca Dios himself actually moves a touch slower due to also being larger than a normal Bracky. But the cherry on top of Raging Braca Dios is his automatic defense system. When you spend too much time next to a body part of this creature, the slime will eventually react and explode just because you're there. A monster covered in proximity mines, and not just any monster, but the explosive boxing kangaroo. The actual experience of fighting him is incredible. It's just a fantastically designed monster given another fantastic mechanic, made more punishing but not through artificial difficulty. Honestly, he easily feels like a low tier Elder Dragon fight at minimum, with a strong argument that he is harder than a lot of the higher tier Elder Dragon fights. Put simply, I think that Raging Braca Dios is objectively the best variant that we have. I think anyone who disagrees with that is legitimately insane. If the idea of a variant is to build and expand on a monster's pre-existing power and identity and just make them more them, then Raging Braca Dios nails that. If the idea of a variant is to make a significantly tougher or even just more fun fight, then Raging Braca Dios nails that. If we get variants in World, I not only hope to see variants of this quality, but honestly expect to see them. At this point, Capcom have just made good move after good move with Iceborne. Every news release just makes tons of people happier and happier, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Capcom, give us new monsters, give us returning monsters, give us subspecies, or give us variants. Give us anything you want, because every monster you have touched recently is gold. I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and these have been my top 5 variants. Do you agree with my list? Are you a crazy person who doesn't believe in Raging Braca Dios? Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or report important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Continent, Hollow, we're all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.